Welcome, everyone. I'm Grant, Head of Customer Success at Orah, and on behalf of the whole team, welcome to the Attendance Simplified New Orah Improvements Built from Your Feedback webinar. Before we get started, I have to say we have a very large group of schools joining us today. The whole Orah team saw that number, and we're thrilled you're here, mostly because it tells us you care about this as much as we do. Today is for you. You've been patient, you've shared your feedback, you've pushed for improvements, and this session is us showing you that we've heard every bit of it. What you're about to see is real work ready for your school year. If you can just go to the next slide, here's what we're covering today. So our new daily reconciliation view, it's a quick way to see what's missing and what needs action. This is what most of you are here for and what we're really excited about. The student schedule in the student profile, so you can get context without tab hopping. Flexible daily attendance policy, so matching your school's workflows without messy workarounds. We're bringing attendance into the parent app, which is something we're all very excited about. A lot of you have asked for, so just really clear communication and fewer inbound questions back to the school. And to pull all of this off, we have some foundational improvements such as divisions and schedules and grade levels that support cleaner reporting. At the end, we'll finish with a Q&A and just a quick look at what's next at Orah. So first, let me introduce the team that's here with you today. Many of you already know Emily. She's one of our customer success managers, a very familiar face to a lot of schools on this call. Emily manages a portfolio of Orah schools and has probably spent more time on calls with attendants than anyone else here. So Emily, if you want to just say a quick hello.
Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to see so many familiar names on the call. I wish I could see your faces on this call because I know that you're going to be excited as I am about some of these updates.
Thank you. Also, a customer success manager and another name many of you will know, Alexis. Emily and Alexis have genuinely been your biggest advocates here at Orah. They're the ones who brought your feedback into every conversation internally we had about these improvements. So Alexis, if you want to say hi.
Hi, everyone. It's so nice to see all of you in the room, but I'm excited for you to see what we have today.
Thank you. Zohab is not with us just yet, but he will be joining soon. I think everyone in the room knows Zohab. He's recently moved into an onboarding role. So if you are new to Orah or you've set up recently, there's a very good chance he's the one who walked you through it. When he joins, I'll get him to introduce himself. He'll also be managing our Q&A along with Alexis a bit later. Also with us is Madeline, who is our senior UX designer. She's the person who sat with attendance managers, watched how you actually work in the system, did the real research, and designed what you're about to see. Her work is the centerpiece of today. So Madeline, say hi.
Hey everyone, looking forward to hopefully meeting some of you in the coming months or years to gather your feedback and keep making impactful improvements. So yeah, I'm excited to run through the designs today.
Thanks, Maddie. And of course, Kurt, head of product. Kurt's going to cover the structural and all of the foundational improvements that make everything that you're going to see today reliable under the hood. So Kurt, if you want to say a quick hi.
Everyone, thanks for joining in. Looking forward to sharing what we've been working on in the product team here at Orah.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So like I said before, Alexis and Zohab, they're going to watch the chat throughout. Feel free to chat in the chat there. They'll answer your questions throughout the webinar. If something comes up as we go, drop it in there. We'll make sure nothing gets missed. Then at the end, we're going to have quite a bit of Q&A time. I know this is a very exciting change, and I think something you've all been looking forward to. So I'm going to leave quite a bit of room for a question period at the end. So thank you, Emily. Let's get started.
Thanks, Grant. And before we dive into these designs and updates, we wanted to provide some context as to where they came from. A lot of them have been a long time coming, and something that I want to say right off the top is that, and mean this totally genuinely, is that I see you and we all see you, and we've been on so many calls with you, probably hundreds of hours at this point with attendance managers and registrars. And what strikes me every time is just how much is on your plate. It's not just attendance, it's interruptions, it's parent calls, it's teacher questions, it's things that need to happen right now in the middle of everything else you're managing. And when I've had the chance to actually watch people move through Orah to get things done. There's just so many different ways to do it. So many ways to get to the same place, and that can be confusing. Multiple paths, multiple pages, and you have to make decisions in real time about which route is the fastest. It's sometimes possible that you get lost along the way, and that over time has really been, I've noticed it, and it's been a little bit nagging, and we've together as a team really thought there has to be a better way. There has to be a better way to do this. And that's really the beginning of what started everything that you're about to see.
Yeah, and that became really clear to us over time. What attendance managers actually need is one screen, not a better version of the existing screens or the four screens you look at, just one centralized view that brings all the information together in a more digestible way, lets you take action from the same place without navigating away to different parts of the app.
Yeah, exactly. The thing about having multiple tabs open, which I often see attendance managers doing, is that you have to have your mind in two places at once, right? You check the class record and then you go to the student profile. And by the time that you make that change or go to make that change, you've already lost track of the thing that you needed to update it to. And so, really, just reiterating that need for one place where you can see exactly what you need at one time, you can action on what you need to action on, and not lose yourself along the way.
And I think what makes that all possible is the foundational work underneath the hood, how daily attendance is recorded, how it maps back to your SIS, and how schools with multiple divisions, lower, middle, upper, can configure policies separately. Kurt's going to get to that, but the experience you're about to see is all built on top of that, I guess, foundational framework. So just keep that in mind as we're continuing on.
And so everything that we've just described, that general workflow, what we'd been seeing on calls, what we imagined could be better, was very much confirmed and now brought to life by Madeline, who's really put real research behind it. So taking these things that we have just noticed along the way, these pieces of feedback that we've been hearing, but really diving in and putting research behind it, consolidating that into a clear direction, and bringing that to life with designs that are now in development. And I'm really excited for her to tell you more about the research that she did to provide that evidence for the need for these things and show you what she's come up with. So Madeline, why don't we pass it over to you?
Sounds good. Thank you. If we move over to the next slide. Yeah, so I just wanted to quickly touch on a bit of background with the research, as Emily and Grant spoke about, to show you where these designs have come from. So we conducted extensive research to really understand the precise needs of attendance managers, and that was to ensure that the improvements we're making are evidence-backed or data-driven and driven by the actual people using them to result in really impactful improvements. So what that looks like is we interviewed 20 staff members across 16 different schools and different user roles. We also reviewed over 100 support and onboarding calls, feature requests, and survey responses. And what that did is help paint a bit of a picture for us of all the key workflows on a daily basis that attendance managers are doing, and also maybe to help identify some trouble areas or high friction workflows, so we could really prioritize or drill down on the areas that will have the biggest impact for yourselves. Then if we go to the next slide, I can speak a little bit about some of the findings from the research. So there were some themes or patterns of pain points that we found from the research that you can see listed out here. So the first one being around just the algorithm that was converting period attendance into daily attendance statuses. We noticed that it needed a bit more customization and flexibility across schools. Another key area was around teacher role non-submission and compliance enforcement, and that kind of tied in with the alert and notification overload and distrust. That was just around a bit of a lack of clear and really easy real-time visibility across teachers and across incomplete roles. You could find that information, but it required a little bit of sifting. And then also individual role reminders getting ignored. Another key area was around attendance editing complexity. One of the most common daily actions for attendance managers was to change a student's status. And we just found that was taking too many clicks and too many screens. Then another area was around stale location data. So we just found that some attendance managers were spending 15 to 30 minutes manually correcting location data or trying to figure out exactly where the student was, comparing expectation to reality. And we wanted to make that a little bit easier. And then finally, attendance visibility. So that kind of tied in all the other themes together. We found that things like the student schedule weren't located where most users expected it to be, which is on the student profile. We found that the schedule could be at time hard to read or drill down into the details, and that staff were spending time fighting the interface almost before they could do their job. Or some of the key views that we were showing maybe weren't showing attendance managers what they needed to see. And the data and all the information is often there, but it's just a bit difficult to find, or you have to apply certain filters and things like that. So those were the overarching themes. And then if we go to the next slide, that kind of shows how we funnel down into what's coming. And it was really about solving the emotional now. We found that now is where the most friction exists for our key role, the attendance managers. In that morning period of reconciliation, that's where that kind of emotionally charged experience is happening. And we wanted to make that as seamless and free as we could. So that's where the change is coming from. And the designs that you'll see is really about creating this high intensity real-time dashboard that's optimized for speed and clarity. And the why behind that, as we've just touched on, we found that attendance managers were frantically tracking and investigating. And we thought that by reducing those clicks required to find a student's current expected location, and then versus, for example, their last confirmed location, we can lower that cognitive load during those really high stress moments, like a parent calling to find out where their child is. So we wanted to give that full picture to attendance managers with less navigating and less screens. So that's a quick snapshot of kind of the mountain of research and why it's funneled into the designs that we're going to show you now. So to bring that to life and give context, I'll share my screen and take you through the prototypes now. So yeah, we have a prototype here. Some of this will be placeholder information and won't cover the full functionality that you'll eventually see, but it's just to really communicate where we're heading. So in this example, you'll see we're on the attendance tab and we're looking at the daily reconciliation view. This is the new view. Just to note, we haven't touched the other views, so you can still access everything you're used to with group records, student records, etc., and still can maintain your workflows within those spaces. The idea is just that the daily reconciliation view is going to give you this kind of filtered, focused view that presents to you the things that need your attention throughout the day. So in this example, the default will always be today, and we can see 4 tabs across the top. We can see absent for the day, late for the day, overdue roles, and passes. So at the start of the day, these 3 tabs of absent, late, and overdue will sit at a 0. And then passes would be all of your active and scheduled passes. And then as the day progresses, the ended passes for that day as well. Then let's say we're in 3rd or 4th period. These numbers will start ticking up. Obviously, there'll be more than this, but in this example, maybe it's 4th period and there are 3 absent for the day students. We can differentiate between if they're unexcused or excused. We can also filter from here, so apply student filters, and we can search by student names. So let's take Diane as an example. So we can see that she's from lower school and grade 3, and we can see she has an absent, unexcused for the day status, and that she was absent in 2 classes and unexcused. Then if we want to get that in more context, we could show the schedule and we can see Diane's class schedule. And if she had any passes or events, this would sit alongside it as well. So we can see that those were the 2 classes that she's been marked absent for. We can see the current time as well. And then let's say that we wanted to contact Diane's contacts or guardians. We would be able to see her contacts without having to navigate to the student profile. So we can see, let's say Tom is the primary contact and whatever details we have for Tom. So maybe it's the mobile and the email. We can choose to send an email directly from here or use the phone number to give them a call. And it's just giving that full snapshot here. So you have the contact details and you have all the context there as well. So then we can hide the schedule. Also, if you were to maybe filter all unexcused absent for the day, you could then toggle on this view all contacts and it would uncollapse or extend all of the contacts so you could see that in a snapshot as well. Then further down the track, we're also going to implement being able to edit the daily attendance status. Let's say this is a mistake, or for whatever reason you need to edit it, making that as easy as possible and being able to select that from here and save it. But we'll undo that for now. Then you can also take some bulk actions from this view. So maybe you want to select all students and you want to, at a bulk level, edit their daily attendance status or add a pass. So you could add a pass from here, or you could edit that daily attendance status and select a status from here as well. Alternatively, you could pick all the classes. So maybe you want to select all the classes and change all the attendance. So you can select a new roll code and also select a reason. These bulk actions can be done in less bulk as well. So maybe you just select one or two here, or maybe you apply a filter and then select it all. So just trying to optimize those actions. Alternatively, you can go into the schedule and update on an individual level as well. So maybe this was wrong or it needs to be updated. You can go in here and edit the class attendance there as well and get that confirmation. So that's for absent for the day. Then if we move over to late for the day, we can see some similar functionality. We can toggle between either excused or unexcused, apply filters. And then we can see Lenny, for example, is late excused for the day, and she was marked absent for 2 classes with the excused type. And then if we look into the schedule, we can see Lenny had a late arrival pass that's ended, crossed over with these 2. So she was marked as absent excused and now has been marked present for her 3rd class. From here, we could open the pass modal, or we could also open the edit version of that modal, again, for easy actions and easy access to those things. Then for Chelsea, perhaps she's late unexcused for the day and was marked late in 1 class. So when we see her schedule, we can see that she was marked late unexcused for the first period, but then has been marked present for the next 2 and has no passes. So it just gives you that full snapshot. Then we might go over to overdue roles, and we can see the overdue roles consolidated or summarized under each teacher. So maybe as the day progresses, Ronan has 2 overdue roles. And again, we can see that in context. So we can see Ronan's schedule, and maybe he's started or he's in progress with the first class and hasn't started the next one. Again, we can take some bulk actions from here, or directly from here can open up the role as well. And if you have the permissions, you are able to, say, complete the role or edit that as well. Then you could send reminders to these teachers, or alternatively, maybe it gets to the end of the day and you decide to select all of the teachers who still have overdue or incomplete roles and want to just send one reminder to all. So maybe you send a reminder, and this just confirms you're about to send reminders to these 2 teachers, and then each teacher will receive a single summary of all of their overdue roles from the day. And then you could, at a snapshot, see what that might look like. Teachers can get one consolidated alert rather than those individual role alerts, but you can still choose to do those individual ones as well. And then toggling between in progress and not started. So quick filters from here, or some slightly more advanced filters like school division or the group type of attendance role. And then lastly, on the passes page, we can see all scheduled, active, or ended passes for the day. Again, we can filter by student filters or pass filters from here, and we can see it again in context in the schedule, and then decide to take some bulk actions from here. So we could select all the students to add a pass. We could select all of the passes and choose to either delete or change the pass type. So all of the bulk actions that you can usually do from the passes tab, you can do from here as well. And you can drill down into bulk actions according to the pass type. So that's giving you a snapshot of the daily reconciliation view. I might then now go on to the student schedule in the student profile. So it's giving you that same functionality in the student profile. In this case, we've landed on Ethan's profile, and we can see his student schedule tab. Again, we still have the current functionality across the other tabs. And then the default to today, we can see Ethan's class schedule here. We can see the passes and events. So you can, again, open that modal, the pass modal from here, or the edit from here. You can also decide to take some bulk actions from here. So maybe selecting multiple classes and deciding to change the attendance. And again, you can update that attendance status as well. So bringing that functionality into the student profile, where you can get the full picture of where the student is expected to be with their class schedule, and then also getting that confirmation with class attendance markers or with passes as well. Then moving on to the daily, being able to set the daily attendance status and daily attendance count, and offering a little bit more customization for that. So we'll start with the daily status. So this would determine what daily attendance status a student receives based on their class attendance or arrival time for the day. And you can choose whether to apply one policy school-wide. As you can see here, this is applied to all students, or you can do it per division or per year level. So in this example, this status policy is applied to all students and the logic is based on all classes throughout the day. But let's say we wanted to edit that, and let's say we wanted to do it by division. So then we could set the logic by division. So for maybe lower school, we want a certain logic, middle school a different one, and upper a different one. We can do that from here, or even drilling down into year level as well. So let's say for kindergarten only is only taking attendance once a day. So we want the logic to actually just be defined by the first scheduled class of the day. And we can see that kind of updated down here. So present for the day would be that they were present for the first class, excused late would be excused late for the first class, etc. So let's say we set that status logic for kindergarten, but maybe we toggle over to grade 9 and we actually want to change that to all of the classes throughout the day. So maybe we select all of the classes throughout the day, and we can see that example. So if a student is absent for the first period, but maybe they attend later classes, then they're going to be marked late, not absent. And we can see all of those corresponding against each of the statuses as well. And then let's say we want something different again for grade 12. So maybe we toggle over to grade 12 and we decide it will be based on the arrival time. So this means that the daily status can be determined by when the student arrives at school, but we'll also consider approved passes. So when the student arrives to school, will give us that whether they're present or late or absent. And then the consideration of the approved passes will give us that added context of whether they're excused or unexcused with the late and the absent. And again, we can see that logic mapped out there and an example for that. So let's say we decide to save those 3 different settings, and then we've saved it and we can see that the policy is applied actually by year level. We can see that the status policy has been set for grade 12 as arrival time, for grade 9 as all classes throughout the day, and kindergarten as the first scheduled class of the day. So that's for the daily attendance status. And then we're also looking at the daily count. So this is around how a student's daily attendance is counted. So it might be that the score that appears on a report card or might feed into reports. And again, allowing the ability to configure the count method and thresholds at either school-wide, per division, or year level, and then further customization of how it's calculated as well. So let's say we go into the edit mode for the daily count. So we can again either toggle between all students by division or by year level. But for this example, I'll just say that we're applying it to all students. So down here, we can see the count method. So it's based on daily status in this current mode. So we can see the count down here. So maybe if a student gets a full day count, it equates to them being present for the day, or if they're late for the day, it equates to a 0.5 count, and absent for the day equates to 0. Then you would be able to control this at a 0.1 decimal. So let's say you wanted to toggle up, you can click up and it would go to 0.6, for example. So you really have that control and autonomy over how you want to set it. But let's say status doesn't make sense for your school and you want it to be based on classes or hours missed. So you could decide to click on classes or hours missed instead. And then in this example, maybe the unit is classes missed. So you could say for a 1 count, 0 classes have to be missed. For a 0.5, maybe a student can miss up to 3 classes, so 1 to 3. And then for a 0 count, maybe if they miss more than 3 classes or more than 5, or however you want to set it, it equates to a 0.0. And then similarly, if we toggle over into hours missed instead, we can see that being updated down here in what it's being set. And we can see that maybe a 1 is 0 hours missed, maybe a 0.5 is up to 5 hours missed, so 1 to 5, and then a 0.0 is maybe more than 5 hours missed. And then we can click save and we can see that saved here. So that's for, a bit more customization in the daily counts and the daily status. And then lastly, what I wanted to run through was seeing attendance in the parent app or the family app. So we can see an example here of a screen from the app. We can see this new icon in the top right-hand corner that will show us those attendance alerts. So parents are receiving those alerts via email, and we want it to be visible here as well. So if a parent were to click on that alert icon, then they would be able to see maybe a list of alerts or however many are there. This is all just placeholder information for now. And then from here, they can decide to read it, maybe call the school, or they can decide to dismiss it. They can also decide to view the related records. So this gives them the kind of overarching title and the kind of alert criteria that has equated to this alert. And then if they decide to go into the related records, they can see the actual records that have been calculated or flowed into this attendance alert. Then from here, they can either add a pass or they can go to the student's attendance within the app. So if they were to click view attendance, it would take them to their child's attendance page within the app. Another way to navigate to this is, let's say they're just on the home screen and there aren't any attendance alerts, but they still want to see their child's attendance. They can go to the family tab. Maybe they have multiple children at the school and they can select the child that they want to see attendance for and then click view attendance. And that's another way to navigate into this page. Then they would be able to see the overall daily attendance rate and could customize the date range that they want to see it for. And similarly down here, then we start to drill down into more detail. So it gives them the overall snapshot. Then for class attendance, again, they could toggle by this year or set a custom range. But in this example, it's this year. And they would be able to see that Lisa's enrolled for these 5 classes, and they would be able to see Lisa's overall attendance rate. But then let's say that they wanted to see a breakdown of that attendance rate. So then if they were to expand that, they can see the amount of classes that Lisa's been present for, excused late, excused absent, and unexcused absent, and then get some further detail on those classes. So then be able to see which exact classes Lisa was marked present or absent or whatever for, with the date and the time. And then if they scroll down a little bit further, it gives them a view of the daily attendance records as well. So in this view, we're sitting at today, and we can see that Lisa is maybe unexcused absent for the day, and seeing that she's been marked absent for all of the classes throughout the day. And again, clicking into the class to just get the full name, the date, the roll mark, and the class start and end time, with the ability to then navigate forward perhaps. So they can see the student's schedule for future days and then also past days as well. So that covers the prototypes and the designs for some of the key improvements that we wanted to run through today. And as Grant and Emily touched on, we'll now hear from Kurt. He's going to talk a little bit more about what's under the hood and what's going to be driving these changes. So I'll hand over to Kurt.
Awesome. Thanks, Maddie. I'll just share my screen. Sorry, I will stop. Actually, I can't share my screen. Are you able to bring up the link that I'm going to send you?
Let me.
Thank you very much, Lisa.
Wait, here we go. Can you all see this?
Yep, we can see it.
All right. Sorry. Okay, so as Maddie mentioned, we're also making a few fundamental improvements to the data structure on the back end. So I just wanted to talk to some of the core kind of entities, and I'll dive into more detail. So the 3 kind of core entities that make up a school within our upcoming data model are divisions, school years, and houses. And then we have students as well, which are enrolled into each of these through sections. So to give you an example of what this generally looks like in practice, is that within a school, we'd have multiple divisions, i.e. lower school, middle school, upper school. And if there's a boarding component, there will also be dorms or houses as well. And so divisions and houses are what we think of as operational units within a school. So often they have their own students, their own schedules, their own potentially their own types of passes or attendance policies and things like that, like the concepts that Maddie just showed before, where you're able to configure different attendance policies based on different divisions. That's based on this idea that each division or house is like a operational unit within a school. And so within each division, often there's a specific calendar or schedule that kind of governs that division and any student that's enrolled in that division would belong to. And we're also, as I mentioned, thinking that divisions can have their own types of passes, types of dismissals, module specific functionality. So we really want to bring this idea of divisions, school calendars, and operational units into our data model. So what that's going to allow us to do is within each of these operational units, we'll be able to better structure academic records. At the moment, we're only really organizing records based on their scheduled meeting. So the main information we have is that there's a meeting that's occurred on a certain time and place and it belongs to a course. But we don't currently know what term, what academic year, what school day, or what periods those meetings belong to. So through bringing in the full school schedule, we'll be able to better structure the attendance records in this hierarchy. So a concept of what that might look like in practice is this insights page. So if we're looking at a student for their attendance records, we'll be able to break it down by academic year, terms, and depending on which one of those timeframes you're looking at, you'll be able to see how many school days were within that particular term or academic school year, and what was the attendance metrics for that timeframe. So we'll be able to provide much more structured reporting and filtering when it comes to attendance reports and any kind of academic records. That's in line with how you would typically expect to see these records structured in your SIS or LMS. So this is something that Orah hasn't built with our first kind of iterations of attendance and our data model, but we'll be making it a core part of how Orah is structured and how you would filter through records of students is using these academic timeframes as well as divisions and houses. Of course, another important part of this is the integration with the SIS. So we're mainly working with Blackboard and Veracross at the moment. And we're very much emulating this sort of data model that they have. And we're mapping it to our new data model, and we're able to pull the right information that we need, like section enrollments, the scheduled meetings, divisions, and things like that. So the way that we are intending to roll out these updates is to first implement the backend structure and then allow us to sync the data from the SIS. And so it just means that we have the data syncing between Orah and the SIS. And that's the first milestone. From there, we'll be able to start embedding it into different parts throughout the application, most likely looking at the attendance insights dashboard and giving you better filtering capabilities around that. So that's a brief summary of what we're doing on the back end. Hopefully that makes sense, and a lot of schools have been asking for these things over the last couple of years. So yeah, we're really looking forward to getting into it and making this a reality. Okay, so I'll hand it back to Grant and go over to you.
Thank you, Kurt. Thank you. Before we get into the QA, I just want to take a moment and thank Madeline, Kurt. Madeline, the research, the design, the care that went on every screen that we all saw today, that doesn't happen without someone who genuinely listens and honestly genuinely cares about getting it right. So thank you. Kurt, the foundational work you just walked through is the kind of thing that doesn't always get the spotlight, but it's what makes everything else reliable. So we all appreciate you. And to everyone on this call, we hope you enjoy these updates as much as we do. We've been looking forward to this moment for a while, and seeing so many of you here makes it so much better. The work was all built from your feedback, and getting to share with you today means a lot to the whole team. A couple things before we move on. This session has been recorded. I saw a few questions come up about sharing this with your teams. This has been recorded. We will share it with everyone that attended today. We'll also be sharing the slide deck, and we'll make sure that this ends up on our webpage, on our webinars. And of course, the CS customer service and customer success team will send this out throughout the next probably 24 hours. On to the questions. I see Alexis and Zoe have answered quite a number of them already. We'll keep going. I see some open questions still. There's a number of questions, a number of suggestions. So if you did write and we don't cover this, I'm saving every question. I have your names. We will get through all of this, even if it's after the webinar. I see some suggestions that are great, so I'll share those with the team. And then right after the Q&A, we'll talk about what's next and share what's coming up at Orah. So on to the questions. Z, I don't know if you want to start and maybe cover some questions that have been asked that are already been answered, and then the open questions for Madeline and Kurt.
Sure. Hi, everyone. We'll just quickly go through the questions that were asked, and then we'll turn towards the questions that are unanswered, which is where Maddie or Kurt will help. A common question here was that would we share this presentation or this deck with the attendees? We will create a small version of this and share this with all the attendees and the recording of this call, so you can then take it for your teams as well. There was another question, which was if an attendance manager builds a filter in these screens, will those filters persist between tabs and or visits to this page? Yeah, so Maddie, I would need your help here. If an attendance manager adds these filters while working on these screens, would those filters stay every time they come back to that screen?
Yes, so they will be persistent filters, behaving similarly to how you can have persistent filters in the passes tab. So if there's one group of students that you're constantly reviewing and not really reviewing any outside of that, being able to have persistent filters so you're constantly seeing the correct view.
Thank you. Thank you, Maddie. That answers that question. There's one more question. The workflow looks great. Interested in how the attendance data integrates into the SIS, specifically Blackboard. To answer that question, all attendance records and passes right back to your SIS, be it Blackboard, Red Cross, or Facts, or any other SIS that we'll be working on, based on the mapping that you define in your attendance settings within Orah. So whatever your mappings are, based on that, the attendances will be pushed to your SIS. Then we have another question by Jim. When will these updates be rolled out? And this is an update for everyone. These updates would be available for the start of the next school year. So ultimately like August. Then what is the attendance rate based on? Attendance rate in Orah is calculated as a percentage of days a student was present or late out of all the days they were expected to attend. Absences count against the rate, while lates be included or excluded depending upon how the school has configured that within Orah. Moving to some of the questions that we're trying to answer now. Let's start with Glenn's question, which is, was there any update with the attendance or pass alerts? For example, the alerts to teachers providing more information in the email alert with all the details, so the teacher doesn't have to go to Orah right away to see the details. Another one, can parents now edit passes in the app after the pass has been approved, or do they still need to call the school to change or update that? I'll need Maddie's help here.
Yeah, no worries. For getting more details in the emails, that is something that we're looking at rolling out quite soon. So that will show the student details, the alert criteria, and the related records. So the related records will now live within the email rather than having to click through the button that says related records that takes you to Orah. You'll be able to see it in the email to get that full picture. As far as editing passes for parents, that's after they've submitted it. That's still something that we're looking at, but good to bring to our attention again.
Thank you, Maddie. I think we have another question. How far in advance can a parent see a student schedule on the app? And sorry, Maddie.
I was just going to say that would be reflective of how far the student schedule has been set in Orah. So it should reflect how far in advance it's been set in Orah in the app.
We've got another from Peggy. The parent app and the ability to see attendance stats will require us to set up the daily count. Is that correct?
It can use the current configuration of Orah. So within Orah on the student profile in Attendance Insights, you can see class or day data. So it would pull from data that we already have. You wouldn't need to set up the count in order to access that data in the app.
This one's from Art. We also need grades to be broken out with their own staff and scheduling. I think this would be a feature request, or is it something that we're working upon?
Yeah, that's a good call out. Yep, we'll keep that in mind. I don't want to go into all the detail, but we have had conversations around grades and how that would map to the schedules as well. So yeah, thank you for flagging that as well, Art.
Thank you. There's another one from Art. Kurt's SIS chart needs to add unscheduled meetings, field trips, events, and location changes, which has nurse flex times, etc. I think this is something that we can also discuss as a feature request. Is that
sorry? What was it?
Kurt?
Unscheduled meetings, and what was the other one?
Location changes.
Location changes.
Location changes. Yeah. Yep. Good call out. I don't think it's captured in the diagram, but yeah, we'd be keen to make sure that that's been covered as well. Thanks, Art.
This one's from Jim. Will there be any of this attendance manager capabilities on the mobile app or the staff app?
I think that's a good call out. So at the moment it's for that's so that we can make sure we get it to you before the start of the school year, and also based on the research and understanding that attendance managers from our research are mostly on desktop, but that is something that we will be looking at rolling out to mobile if there's appetite for it as well. So it's good to get that flag.
Another question is from Jean. What are you all going to be doing on the training piece? We are happy to help train any of your attendance managers on this. So just let your CSM know, Emily or I, whenever you would like that to happen.
Yeah, and we can do that one-off, or if there's enough interest, Alexis, maybe we can host a webinar with just the CS team. And we can do one training and everyone can join. Similar to this and ask questions.
Perfect. And then the last question is, can you clarify the attendance rates? Does that mean over the term or at the time it was looked at?
So within the app, there'll be a drop down, which in the example I showed said this year. So once we can roll out school scheduling that will define the start and end of a school year, then it can be this school year. And then in the meantime, there's also the custom date range where a parent could decide to look at a custom range for this term or for this year or for this week. It's whatever the user sets in the date range.
Thanks, Maddie. Those are all the questions that were in the chat, Grant. You are on mute.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for your questions. Those were great suggestions and feedback as well. Just before we wrap, I want to give you a quick look at what's coming. In regards to the reconciliation view that you just saw, Madeline showed you today, it's our V1. Of course, we're already working on enhancements from that. So more to come on that. We'll share more when the time is right. Up on the screen now is our dismissal. So this is going to be ready for the new school year. If your school has a lower or middle school division, or if end of day pickup is a pressure point for your team in any way, reach out to me Emily, Alexis, Zohab, anyone here, let us know, let us show you how we can help turn the end of day chaos into clarity. We'll probably host another webinar soon when we have a little more to work with here, but we'll definitely a lot more to come on dismissals. I know many of you have also been asking about RFID readers. I'm happy to report we have the functionality in the works right now. It'll be throughout the platform, so a lot more to come on that in the coming weeks. And just another thing, you're going to be seeing us in person again, much like last October. We will be touring across the US, looking for host schools and gathering all the communities together once again. Myself and the team members, we love going on site to your schools. Feel free, invite us anytime. We love coming into your school, learning how your school operates, seeing it firsthand. A lot of what we do remotely is fantastic, but when we're in person, we can get a really good feel for how things work and take a lot of feedback firsthand to our team. So we love it. Thank you for inviting us, and please continue to do. One more thing, we have another webinar next week. Here it is, May 27th, same time, 3 p.m. We're running an admin panel. We're calling it Bringing Orah In. This is a really honest conversation with attendance admins at real schools who have made the change to class attendance in Orah, what actually changed for them, what the first 90 days look like, and what a normal Tuesday looks like now. So we're gonna have Julie Katz, the registrar at Donna Klein Jewish Academy, and Nicole Jules, who is the assistant head of school at University School of Nashville. So they're gonna be joining myself and Emily. These are people talking on the record. It's not a product pitch, just a real conversation about the messy middle of changing a workflow and how Orah helped. That's 45 minutes. If you can make it live, great. If you can't register anyway, we'll send you the recording and the slides. We'll drop that link in the chat now for those of you that are here, but also you'll hear from us. We'll send an email out and a weekly tip that you can register. So that is it for us today. Thank you all so much for being here. We really appreciate you showing up and showing that you care about making this better together. Until next week, thank you again. Have a good one, everyone. Bye-bye.